So what is it about sports that makes Americans so incredibly passionate? It's way more than just a game. It's this huge cultural force that really shapes communities and reflects some core national values. In this explainer, we're going to dig into what's really driving this obsession, from the roaring stadium to your living room couch.
You know, one of our sources just puts it out there, plain and simple. Americans are crazy about sports. And honestly, when you start looking at the evidence, it is pretty hard to argue with that. This isn't just some casual hobby. For so many people, it's a huge part of their life. So just how crazy are we talking here?
Well, let's put a number to that craziness. Over $5 million. Think about that. That's what it costs for just one 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl. That number alone tells you this isn't just a cultural thing, it's a massive economic engine. It shows you just how much value there is in getting the attention of millions and millions of dedicated fans.
Okay, so where is all this energy and all this money actually going? Let's take a look at the professional sports landscape in the United States and the leagues that really grab the country's attention. Right at the heart of it all are what everyone calls the Big Three. You've got the NFL for football, the NBA for basketball, and MLB for baseball. These guys are the absolute titans of American sports, with fan bases in every single corner of the country. And their passion? It truly knows no bounds.
And this passion isn't just something you see on TV. No, going to live games is a huge part of the culture. We're talking about these gigantic stadiums packed with tens of thousands of people. Some cities are so into their sports that they can actually support multiple pro teams in the exact same sport. Take Los Angeles, for example. It's got two NBA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers.
All right, so which sport wears the crown? Well, here in the US, American football probably has the biggest and broadest appeal. But what's really fascinating is how that compares to the rest of the globe where soccer is king. In America, though, it hasn't quite broken into that Big Three club, which makes for a pretty unique sports landscape.
So we've seen the massive scale of it all, but what does this obsession actually feel like for the average person? Let's dive into the fan experience, from the couch all the way to the stadium seats.
For a ton of people, the biggest game of the year is not watched in a stadium. It's watched at a Super Bowl party. And this quote just captures that vibe perfectly. It's a big social event. It's as much about the food and your friends and just sharing that moment as it is about the actual game. It's a real celebration.
But the fan experience isn't just watching from home. When you actually go to a live game, you're stepping into a completely different world. A world that even has its own language. This line from a baseball game introduces a classic piece of American sports slang that you'll hear all the time. But if you're new to it, it might have you wondering,
Exactly! The nosebleed section? What on earth is that? It's a perfect example of how sports culture has its own lingo, filled with these little insider terms that every fan just seems to know.
Well, the name's pretty descriptive. The idea is that the seats are so high up in the stadium that the altitude might, give you a nosebleed. Okay, not literally, but you get the picture. They're the cheap seats, way, way up at the top. It's a perfect example of that shared vocabulary that fans have.
But as our source points out, even if you're way up in the nosebleeds, the view isn't everything. It's about the atmosphere. It's this whole sensory experience, the roar of the crowd, that unmistakable smell of hot dogs and beer. That's a huge part of what makes it so special.
And being a fan isn't just about watching. It's also about playing. This quote about a casual pickup basketball game really shows you the other side of it, the camaraderie, the friendly competition, and that inclusive spirit of just getting together and having fun. It's about taking part.
And this brings us to our last and maybe most important point. Why does all of this matter so much? Because if you look just beneath the surface of the games and the parties, you'll see that American sports are teaching something really fundamental about the culture itself.
I'm sure you've heard this one before. It's a classic American phrase, and it is the absolute key to understanding the deeper meaning of sports in the U.S. It all points to this core value that's taught on fields and courts all over the country: teamwork.
And this value of teamwork, it's instilled from a super young age. The whole journey usually kicks off in youth leagues like Little League Baseball or Pop Warner Football, where kids first learn how to work with others. That experience is so valued that it's often seen as a big plus on college applications, turning it into a lifelong lesson that starts in childhood.
But what's so important to get here is that this team spirit isn't just for the players. Oh no, it extends to the fans, and it creates this powerful sense of community and shared identity. On a college campus, for example, that spirit can, as our source puts it, infect everyone with cheer,
and it unites the entire community.
So what are the big lessons here? Well, sports teach you how to collaborate, and they teach you that drive to win. But maybe even more importantly, they teach you how to lose with grace, how not to be a sore loser. It suggests that whether you win or lose, the real reward is the shared effort and the experience of doing it together.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If this powerful idea of teamwork is so deeply woven into America's favorite pastime, from Little League all the way to the pros, what does that really tell us about the culture that has been built around it? It's pretty obvious it's so much more than just a game.